AOC. People love Jasmine Crockett. People love Eric Swalwell and the like. And I think that the Democratic Party should put the people out there who the people want. They should put the politicians out there who the people want, who they're asking for, who are meeting the moment with the same energy that
they're not asking for AOC.
Yes, they are.
The people you party with
No. The people I party with don't like AOC.
Oh, please.
No, they don't at all.
Well, most people don't.
But
she's
AOC,
very far left.
Let me tell you why I'm saying.
The heat is on, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is feeling it. Caught off guard and visibly rattled, AOC is now ducking for political cover after Bill Maher unleashed a verbal blitz on live television that left no room for misinterpretation. His takedown? Devastating. It was sharp, unapologetically raw, and laced with a truth that hit like a thunderclap. Maher didn't just criticize, he dismantled her anti-American talking points with surgical precision, sparking a firestorm of controversy that's sweeping across social media like wildfire. Let's be honest, AOC lit this fuse herself with her endless woke crusades and divisive narratives. And trust me, I've got every searing second of it.
Interviews was when AOC was talking to that lady and she asked her to expand.
About Israel-Palestine?
Oh my God.
Well, I believe absolutely in Israel's right to exist.
She just collapsed into herself?
It's literally like a fifth grader that didn't study.
Looked at that incident more through just as an incident.
And then they ask you about the subject, or you didn't read the book. Well, it's about Billy and his dog.
What people are starting to see, at least in the occupation of Palestine, is...
But the crazy thing about that interview is that her first comment comes off with total authority.
I am a proponent of a two-state solution.
One little follow-up question. Question's like, well, what do you mean by that? And then you just see her get weaker and weaker.
You use the term the occupation of Palestine. What did you mean by that?
But what do you mean by that? It's like, I don't know what I'm talking about, man. Yeah. And she literally goes, I'm really not the expert.
Do you think you can expand on that?
I am not the expert on geopolitics on this issue.
Yeah.
Ever since Bill Maher pulled back the curtain on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, branding her a political mirage rather than a movement, the fallout has been swift and impossible to ignore. Once championed as the unapologetic voice of the progressive left, AOC now finds herself stumbling through interviews, unable or unwilling to provide clear answers on the very issues she built her brand around. Whether it's the economy, immigration reform, or climate change, her rhetoric is starting to sound less like leadership and more like carefully rehearsed sound bites crumbling under pressure. Critics are circling like vultures, from the far right to disillusioned progressives. And the backlash isn't just loud, it's bipartisan. Even Joe Rogan has entered the fray, backing Maher's scorching takedown and comparing AOC to Kamala Harris. A carefully crafted media darling with more hashtags than hard facts. What once appeared to be fearless conviction now feels like curated performance art. The mystique is fading. The sharp-tongued champion of change is beginning to look more like a paper tiger, and every new public appearance only deepens the cracks. Her image, once untouchable, is unraveling by the hour. Watch this next clip and see for yourself just how deep the panic goes. I'll be right back.
And I think if you actually do see some of the photos of the signs, I think there's something to be said about the government's about to shut down. There's a vote clock that's going down. The exits that are normally open in that building were suddenly closed.
Suddenly.
So
you pull the fire alarm?
So what I'm here to say is that
What I'm
House
here to say is
and U.S. Capitol Police and Jamal Bowman are an active, and he's fully participating and saying there was a misunderstanding. But what I do think is
hold on. He's active and fully participating in saying that there was a misunderstanding.
He was actively.
That is not our language.
No, he was.
What language is that? She is delightfully stupid. I know people don't like her. I understand that.
Right.
But I just find her just wonderful. She's so...
That right there, that's panic, undeniable and unfiltered. What we just witnessed wasn't a policy explanation. It was a verbal avalanche of trendy buzzwords strung together with all the coherence of a malfunctioning chatbot. It's become AOC's go-to tactic. When she's caught off guard or asked a question that strays from the script, she doesn't respond, she deflects. Out comes a blizzard of terms like systemic injustice, intersectionality, and marginalized voices, tossed around like intellectual glitter meant to dazzle rather than clarify. But here's the thing, people are starting to see through the smokescreen. What once sounded passionate now feels performative. Supporters are no longer nodding, they are pausing, questioning, wondering what exactly she's trying to say beneath the buzzword soup. It's like watching someone recite a TED talk while forgetting the point halfway through. The cracks in her armor are no longer subtle. The image, a fearless, articulate progressive firebrand, is beginning to peel away, revealing a persona propped up more by retweets and Instagram reels than actual legislative depth. Volume doesn't equal value. And emotion. It's not a substitute for execution. AOC's veneer is wearing thin, and the pressure is only mounting.
He has called for the investigating and possible impeaching of members of the Supreme Court. Here's what she said.
I believe that we should be considering subpoenas. We should be considering investigations. There also must be impeachment on the table, and the Supreme Court has not been receiving the adequate oversight necessary in order to preserve their own legitimacy.
Where in the Constitution do you find oversight? One branch is the watchdog of the other branch? I don't think so. That's not the way it works.
A lot of people don't like AOC, but I really do love the earnestness of her stupidity. Like, there's something really charming about how hard she's trying. It's like watching your 14-year-old give a speech about something they don't really fully understand. It's like, it's kind of cute. It's adorable in a very, society-destroying sort of...
This is exactly what I've been sounding the alarm on for weeks. And now, Bill Maher is pulling back the curtain for everyone else to see. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, for all the hype and hero worship, isn't nearly as sharp or grounded as the media would have you believe. She talks a big game about fighting for the working class, yet somehow always finds herself rubbing elbows with the elites. Decked out in designer gowns at exclusive red carpet galas, hosted by the very power players she claims to stand against. You can't sip champagne with the elite one night and lecture blue-collar families about wealth inequality the next. That's not grassroots activism, it's political theater. So when whispers started circling about AOC being a potential replacement for Kamala Harris, a lot of people didn't just raise eyebrows, we sounded the alarm. Because behind the Instagram filters and viral tweets lies a politician who often folds under pressure and offers more platitudes than policy. Bill Maher's critique didn't just hit a nerve, it exposed a pattern. AOC's brand may be loud, catchy, and media-savvy, but once you peel back the performance, the depth just isn't there.
AOC. People love Jasmine Crockett. People love Eric Swalwell. And the like. And I think that the Democratic Party should put the people out there who the people want. They should put the politicians out there who the people want, who they're asking for, who are meeting the moment with the same energy that
they're not asking for AOC.
Yes, they are.
The people you party with
No. The people I party with don't like AOC.
Oh, please.
No, they don't at all.
Well, most people don't.
But
she's
AOC,
very far left.
Let me tell you why I'm saying.
Hold up, did you catch that? Even AOC's own supporters are scrambling, shifting the narrative faster than you can refresh a tweet. 1 minute, Don Lemon is confidently proclaiming that the people are rallying behind AOC, painting her as the next great leader of the Democratic Party. But then, with a calm yet cutting remark, Bill Maher points out the obvious. Outside of Lemon's echo chamber, hardly anyone is actually rooting for her. And just like that, Don suddenly pivots, claiming not even his own social circle likes her. That's not a debate. It's the political equivalent of trying to plug a gushing leak with chewing gum. Pure chaos. Pure panic, and honestly, not the least bit surprising. Trying to legitimize an AOC presidential bid right now feels like hawking snow boots in the Sahara. There's no demand and no real traction. Don Lemon, still clinging to a spotlight that's been dimming since his CNN departure, seems desperate to manufacture momentum. But instead of lifting AOC up, His defense exposes just how shaky her base of support truly is. It's like watching a PR stunt unravel in real time.
Vote for AOC and Donald Trump on the same ticket because they're authentic. No, because they're authentic.
I don't think that Don.
I think you're wrong about that.
What people like about people like Trump and Fetterman
phony.
is because it's irrelevant to her life.
But you don't know her life.
I know that being a gorgeous woman who I wouldn't even know was Hispanic in a city that has 1 million Hispanics and does not treat them badly.
But that doesn't mean she doesn't struggle. That doesn't mean that she was set down.
It implies it.
But that doesn't mean that she was set down in a Hispanic ghetto in the Bronx and had to deal with that growing up, and that she's come from a working class family.
It implies it implies that in some way she's behind the 8 ball because of that, and it's just not true.
Don't be fooled by the polished Instagram reels and fiery sound bites. Bill Maher certainly isn't. He's one of the few voices willing to pull back the curtain on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's carefully choreographed political persona. Maher has openly challenged the authenticity of her oft-repeated, working-class hero origin story, and for good reason. Despite the gritty narrative she leans on, AOC didn't exactly grow up in hardship. Her father was financially comfortable, she attended quality schools, and had access to opportunities that most struggling Americans only dream about. But the real curveball of the night came when Don Lemon, desperate to defend her, tried to draw a comparison between AOC and Donald Trump in terms of authenticity. Yes, you heard that right. The two couldn't be more different. Trump, whether you love him or loathe him, is brashly, unapologetically himself. His brand of authenticity is loud, raw, and impossible to script. AOC's, in contrast, feels suspiciously curated, less lived in experience, more political branding. It's like comparing a spontaneous wildfire to a staged fireworks show. One is unpredictable and real. The other is rehearsed spectacle.
So
I don't know if she's behind the 8 ball, but I don't think she's as privileged as many people who are in Congress right now.
Is that privileged or not? She was a bartonder.
Yeah.
You know, so I was a delivery boy.
But I'm saying sometimes, Bill, you don't agree with Donald Trump's policies.
No.
But that's what the people want.
Some of them.
Whether you like her or not, I don't like what she did with Amazon in New York. But I think AOC she's a Democratic icon.
Well, she's the wrong. If you think that's the direction the country, the Democratic.
I'm not saying the policies that she espouses that's the direction, but I'm saying that you have to give the people who are out front speaking for the party, not the people who are.
If you think
she's evolving,
yeah, she's evolving,
and
as we all are,
and she is moving into
right.
She understands the game a little bit more, and if you notice, she is sort of becoming a sort of normal kind of Democrat in many ways.
Yes.
I think she's evolving.
Okay, great.
She's a very smart tactic.
Sometimes I genuinely have to pause and ask, does Don Lemon even know what point he's trying to make anymore? It's as if he's arguing that leadership should be dictated solely by public demand, no matter how reckless, uninformed, or outright dangerous that demand might be. By that logic, if a mob suddenly decided to resurrect history's worst tyrants, we're just supposed to hand over the keys and nod in agreement. That's not democracy. That's madness wrapped in a popularity contest. This isn't just a Don Lemon problem. It reflects a deeper, unsettling mindset brewing within the modern Democratic Party. The desperate, almost frantic need to appease every trending opinion, no matter how extreme or misguided, has stripped the party of any clear moral compass. It's no longer about convictions or core values. It's about applause, retweets, and viral approval. That's how we end up with influential voices sympathizing with violent extremist groups, while distancing themselves from long-standing Democratic allies like Israel. It's not courageous. It's not principled. It's cowardice dressed up as compassion. And Don Lemon has become the poster child for this ideological confusion, trying to lead with a weather vane instead of a backbone.
Madam Ranking Member, here we are today. Republicans who have voted consistently against the Violence Against Women Act, who have taken away the right of all women to choose and have control over their own body, who, as women are bleeding out in parking lots across the country, standing there, allowing us to die, now want to pretend today that they care about women. And why? To open up gender and, yes, genital examinations into little girls in this country in the so-called name of attacking trans girls. And to that, today, what we have to say are two words: not to.
I'm not exaggerating when I say that clip gave me a full-blown migraine. Seriously, how does the issue of keeping biological males out of women's sports somehow get twisted into this dystopian narrative about inspecting young girls' genitals? That's not just a bad take, it's a calculated, inflammatory stretch meant to ignite outrage rather than invite reasoned discussion. AOC isn't making an argument, she's performing one. She's reaching, grasping wildly for controversy to stay in the spotlight, even if it means veering into absurdity. No one, literally no one, is calling for some creepy inspection regime. The conversation is, and always has been, about fairness, about preserving the integrity of women's sports, not violating anyone's dignity or privacy. We don't subject male athletes to invasive checks to prove their gender before they compete. That's not the standard, and AOC knows that. She's not uninformed, she's uninterested in nuance. Because nuance doesn't trend, outrage does. So instead of addressing real concerns with real facts, she tosses out shock value hypotheticals meant to stir chaos, not conversation. It's not advocacy, it's performance art. And once again, beneath the dramatic delivery and viral headlines, there's no policy, no plan, just another hollow soundbite chasing attention.
Loves this bill. Yes, bigoted folks love this bill. Assaulters love this bill, but also CEOs love this bill because Los Angeles is on fire right now. And this is the number one priority the majority has. Thank you, and I yield.
AOC has a predictable pattern, and it's wearing thin. Anytime someone pushes back on the idea of biological males competing in women's sports, she doesn't engage with the argument. She doesn't discuss fairness, science, or decades of hard-fought progress in women's athletics. Instead, she hurls the word bigot like a smoke grenade, hoping the label alone will shut down debate. Not because the critics are wrong, but because the optics serve her narrative. At its core, this isn't about inclusion, it's about ideology. In AOC's worldview, defending the integrity of women's sports isn't honorable, it's hateful. Meanwhile, watching years of training, effort, and sacrifice by female athletes swept aside is framed as progress. Now mute the audio for a moment. Just watch her. The furrowed brow, the emphatic hand gestures, the pauses that seem perfectly timed. If you didn't know better, you might think you were watching a masterclass in persuasive speaking. But then the sound comes on, and it's like watching someone give a TED talk on a topic they barely skimmed on Wikipedia. It's political theater, not policy debate. She thrives on emotional highs, not intellectual depth. And the longer she speaks, the clearer that becomes. Her arguments, once masked by passion, are now unraveling. The facade is cracking. Her credibility isn't built on truth, it's built on applause lines and curated outrage. Whether it's turning genuine discussions into moral battlegrounds or reinventing parts of her personal history for political effect, AOC has built a brand, loud, viral, and hollow at its core. And now, even her allies, figures like Don Lemon, are doing mental gymnastics trying to keep the illusion alive. But Bill Maher didn't just question her ideas, he stripped away the stage lighting. And what's left? A carefully constructed character, not a serious leader.